Hello and welcome to Doha, the capital of Qatar, for this special edition of Counting the Cost here on Al Jazeera. I'm Kamal Santamaria, and this week we're focusing entirely on the energy sector and the place of women within it. Here in Doha, we've had the inaugural Women in Energy Summit, and so we assembled a panel of experts to discuss the place of women within the energy sector, but more importantly, why so many women, particularly in this part of the world, are studying to enter the energy industry, but just aren't getting the jobs. Well, welcome everyone to this Women in Energy Summit, the inaugural Women in Energy Summit here in Doha. And I'd like to introduce our distinguished panel for today. Starting closest to me with Marie-José Nadeau, who is the chair of the World Energy Council. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
Next to her is Nawal al-Fezai, who has two hats on. She is the Kuwaiti Assistant Undersecretary for Economic Affairs at the Ministry of Oil, but is also Kuwait's representative at OPEC. Thank you for joining us. And rounding out the panel is Natalie Rush, who is from here in Qatar. She is with Maersk Oil Qatar and is the head of human resources. So just a round of applause, please, everyone, for our panel. Ladies, I have a very peculiar question to start with, and that is, why are we discussing this in 2015? Part of me feels we shouldn't be, and that would be an ideal world that we would live in, where there was equality and women were represented across all industries. But I'd like to know, and just get some early ideas. Marie-José, why don't we start with you? What is the biggest issue right now? Why are we discussing this? What has got to happen?
This is a question we should ask ourselves every day of the year, actually. Here in the Gulf states, women represent only 1% of executive level directors' positions. So it is clearly not what we aim for. Having said that, great strides have been realized, but there is so much to be done, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss that later on. But again, it is a timely question. We're just celebrating International Women's Day, but it is a question for every day of the year.
Now, the audience may not know this, but Marie-José is the first female chair of the World Energy Council in its 93-year history.
That's right.
Have you got any thoughts on why that is? Why a woman didn't ascend to a position like that sooner? Is it you? Are you that good? I'm sure she is, but
actually, I was the first woman to sit on their board. So it's as in many energy organizations, it's not necessarily welcoming for women, and we really have to make our way through to be not only competent, but to persist in our determination to make a difference and to pave the way for the next ones to follow.
Nawal, let me bring you into the conversation. You have worked for many years in the oil and gas sector.
Yes.
For you to rise to the position of OPEC representative in Kuwait, how significant was that for you personally and for the industry in Kuwait and in the Gulf?
First of all, I need to work very hard to reach that position. I want to say that the situation for the oil industry now is becoming more complicated. It's not complicated only on the technical side, it's also on the economical side. The second thing, that the generation who has been working in the real 80s, now they are going to retire. So that's why you need to bring more to come and take this position, whether in technical side or the economical side. To monitor the oil market, it's not an easy job. You need a lot of readings. You need to stay more time in the work. You need to monitor the market, and this all will be on the time that I should spend it with the family. So it's not an easy job. It needs patience. Also, there is a lot of competition with men who are still now, they don't accept to have a woman leading them.
But you know what's so interesting is that there are so many women, particularly in the Gulf, who are studying engineering, petroleum engineering, science, and as you've both pointed out, they're not actually getting into the positions. Natalie, I'll ask you about this because you deal with human resources, you deal with hiring. Give me some examples of what's happening at Maersk Qatar to get women involved. Do you have an active program to recruit women? Because if they're all going to university and studying, it's a shame that they're not getting into the jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at the statistics within the Middle East, only 3% of the oil and gas sector as a whole is represented by females, which is actually quite shocking when you think this is something that we've been on a journey and thinking about for the last 15 years at least. And I think it's something that, as Marie-José said, we need to have an ongoing focus. We need to continue to think differently, challenge our current leaders, and actively do something positive to change that. And we talked about quotas, and I think that's an ongoing debate on whether we should set quotas in the industry, and there are pros and cons to both, but I think it is a good way to get an aggressive approach to these things and to push the right behaviors, because we are naturally driven by targets. Within Maersk Oil Qatar, we operate an equal opportunity employer practice, of course, but we also proactively go and engage with females very early at universities, within schools, to track them and bring them into the STEM, so science, technology, engineering and mathematics career paths, to create a constant pipeline. But where we need to think about is not so much around the attraction. I think the attraction is working really well, and we see those numbers rising within technical careers. It's around the retention and the promotion within the organization, and we see those people exiting the oil and gas within the mid-career. So that pipeline gets emptied at a critical part.
I want to step back and actually try to figure out with all three of you why they're not getting into the jobs in the first place. If there's this much interest for women to get into this sector, how is it that they cannot be getting the jobs? Why don't I start with you, Marie-José?
Well, there are many answers to your question, but women are facing very tangible barriers and intangible barriers. There's one intangible barrier that women are in some countries, by no means all, women are not expected to work.
Okay.
So that's an intangible barrier that we should address. More tangible barriers. Women still face the double burden of caring for domestic responsibilities as well as promoting their own professional development and career. How do we address that? Well, we need an ecosystem of measures that would call for coaching, mentorship, role models, family policies, family support, childcare, infrastructures. I mean, it has to be sustained over time with a top management and government support.
What do you think, Noel?
In my country, it is not difficult to get in the job.
Okay.
Since the woman she graduates with high degree in petroleum energy or in petroleum engineering. The question is how long she is going, how long she will stay in the job since she is in. And also, is she is going to be upgraded? Is she is going to get higher position than that? This is the challenge that she is facing. Yes, she got the job, but.
Natalie, why don't I get you to pick on that? If she's going to stay in the job, that's the key, because you mentioned that. You said people leaving or women leaving in their, what did you say, early 30s, mid-30s or something like that?
Mid-career, mid-management levels.
So is this something that employers are actually thinking about when they're hiring people in the first place? They look at a woman and think, well, maybe I don't want her in that position because she's eventually going to leave. I'm being very stereotypical here, and I'm risking this in a room full of women, but is that a school of thought that's out there?
I think in general we need to consider how the retention scheme works. So how do we, as Marie-José said, how do we lower the barriers of making it easier for women to come back to work after they've had children, to maintain their career whilst they're out of the picture and maintain their skills and capabilities to be able to retain their position and come back and compete with those more senior roles when they come back to the workplace.
I've had a question here via Twitter. We're using the hashtag GI Forum, and Christina Passion in the audience here has asked, are quotas the answer? Now, a few of you have mentioned the idea of quotas already. Any of you got any thoughts on whether that is actually a real answer to bring more people in, to bring more women in?
Well, I don't like the idea of quotas, but I like the results of quotas. Yeah. So if they are going to make a difference, I think it's
controversial, and this can be across anything. This can be across race or gender or all sorts of things about bringing people in because of who they are. I guess what I want to know is there a particular skill set that you think women bring into the energy, or can bring into the energy sector? Again, I know that's being very broad brush, but is there something?
Women are known to be very close to their team, very effective in communications and inspiration. They are more risk adverse, so they would not take unnecessary risks. They are more open to innovative solutions to different challenges, and they usually succeed in very efficient organizations.
I've got another audience question here from Yvette Esho, who has asked, and I'll put this to both of our other two panelists here, how do you tackle cultural and social factors that prevent women from going offshore? Now, Natalie, we talked about this earlier, and we'll come to you in a moment. Nawal, let me start with you. Talk about cultural and social issues which are holding women back from going offshore, from really advancing their career.
Yes, this is really one of the challenges. The social factors and social commitments in my country. I don't want to say it's a prevent, but it has some obstacles to not make the woman easy to move and easy to keep along in her position. So that's why most of them are leaving the engineering, whether they leave the whole sector, or they change to administrative or finance.
What about you? Can you tell me yourself? What made you want to get into the sector? Did you want to get out there in the field or out offshore? What?
As I said, I am economist. I'm not a technical.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but it's in the early years that I started. I worked some. I had been trained in the oil field.
Well, you need to experience it to understand it, don't you?
It was very interesting, but I remember that time because it was springtime in Kuwait, but I won't do it in summer.
No, wouldn't even go outside in summertime, goodness. Natalie, let me bring you in, because we talked earlier before the panel started about what you were doing to overcome some of those cultural and social barriers here.
You know, within Maersk Oil Qatar, for example, we've recently set up a specific program to encourage females to travel offshore. And in order to make that and break the barriers down, we're doing that in groups of females, and having a critical mass is making people feel a lot more comfortable with that. And we now have our first role model of a Qatari female working offshore and staying offshore, which is absolutely fantastic. And we need to show that those things are capable with the right kind of support and a different way of looking at it and differentiating from our normal practices.
And they want to get out there?
Yes. There's been a huge flux of requests and interest in doing that. And I was just talking with a fellow panel member around, you know, we have a fantastic reputation that we create these opportunities and we break down these cultural norms, and that is our responsibility as international oil and gas companies.
Okay, I'm going to broaden out a little bit, because there is one major issue facing the industry at the moment, and I'm particularly talking about the oil industry, and that's the falling price of oil. This is a huge, and I'm sure you'll have something to say on this now, as an economist, it is a huge issue today. It has absolutely plunged from, I mean, it was at those ridiculous highs of $150 a barrel. It is well down now. How does that impact the, well, I guess I can't ask specifically about women, but I guess I can ask about the industry, about recruiting, about cutting back. Is this something which we just have to accept as part of the cyclical nature of the energy cycle? Marie-José?
You're right that this is a cyclical passage, but having said that, there is ample opportunities in the energy sector, whether it be in innovation, you know, energy efficiency, renewables. There is such a broad, such broad experiences that are offered to both young men and women that we should not limit ourselves to simply, you know, looking at rigs or refineries, or there are much more opportunities. And, you know, women, we often think of women being there are significant opportunities in the higher levels of management, and we are to be concerned as much as with sticky floors as we are with glass ceilings. So, room to grow.
Nice. Noel, what do you think? Again, price of oil at the moment. This is a more broad topic, but.
Yeah, the oil sector projects in Kuwait has not been affected by the low oil prices because the economics of these projects has been set up before the decline in the oil prices, and the Kuwait economy is still going well with these prices. Maybe this will be affected the project which is done by the private sector, which is not much because most of the projects are done by the government, by KBC, and its affiliates. Yes, they are going to look at what to make it more efficient, to be more reasonable with the cost, with the expenditures. But not cutting these projects. Since Kuwait is needed to expand its capacity, so crude oil production and refined product capacity.
Natalie, what do you do at Maersk in times like this when the oil price is falling and it has to affect business? You still want to retain people, women, men, you still want to retain everyone, you still want to be able to hire as well, but it's not easy. I
think regardless of the oil price, it's very well known that the energy demand over the next 20 years will continue to grow, if not double. I actually see the oil price down as an opportunity to actually harness and focus on some of the key capabilities, talent pipelines that will really be differentiators. And ultimately, human capital is one of the things that will make a huge difference. And if we can attract females from other industries that are impacted by a downturn in a recession, or from other parts of the oil and gas sector and move them into cross-functionally into other parts of the business, as Marie-Josée said, there's so many opportunities. It is not only the frontline leaders and the manual work. There's a lot of other opportunities within the oil and gas sector, and I think the downturn is actually an opportunity in itself to really home in on what is it that will make the difference for the future.
Well, seeing this is a Women in Energy Summit, not just oil and gas, I wonder if we should look at some of the other options which you brought up, Marie-Josée. Renewable energy. I wonder if a lot of those women who are out studying in oil and gas or petroleum or so should be looking at other things, particularly renewable energies. This part of the world's got a lot of sunshine. It should be heading down that path, and really renewable energies has become the new, it's not the new oil, but it could be one day, couldn't it? I wonder if some of those women, what do you think, Natalie, should be looking more to define their careers perhaps a little bit differently?
Well, I think, when we look at survey results at universities, and this is not only gender specific, but generally the oil and gas sector doesn't necessarily have a shining reputation around various different aspects for whatever reason that might be. The renewables sector is exceedingly appealing to when we look at the younger generations. They see this as the future. People are a lot more socially and environmentally responsible when you look at younger generations. So I definitely think that that's a sector which is very attractive for the younger generation.
Well, Marie-Josée, what do you think? Because you brought up the issue of renewables earlier. I mean, this has got to be something which young women, and again I'm broadening out here to men as well, but should be studying and should be really excited about, because it is the future.
Yes, when you put in a room a group of 10 people of the same age, with the same professional background, with the same cultural background, you'll obviously agree and get the same ideas, and you'll miss out on opportunities. Having women educated in geology, biology, engineering, law, social sciences, economy, a full portfolio of backgrounds and experiences will bring to the table innovative solutions, women able to entertain a new vision of what the energy field will look like in the upcoming years. And we have a problem at the global level of access to energy. There are still 1.2 billion people without access to energy. In most cases, this is affecting women and children. And we see more and more women being conscious about this challenge and being willing to participate in these solutions and bring forward.
So this would be why.
That's actually proven in terms of studies that, you know, boards and leadership teams that have females, there's actually evidence to prove that those companies are more profitable, they make better financial decisions, better risk management, as you mentioned, they have a more diverse perspective and ability to attract talent into the organization, and so on. So, you know, diversity and gender diversity is not only good for women, it's good for business.
Good for business. Nawal, tell me about in Kuwait. I mean, as we've said before, you've been in the industry for a while. How do you feel? I mean, do you feel accepted? Do you feel challenged? Do you feel that it makes a difference that you're a woman?
Yes, I feel that I made a difference. I feel that I encourage a lot of young economists to come to join the work, to do a lot of studies, a lot of analysis, but take in consideration that the social commitment that they have prevent some from time to time from them to give more.
Is there also a lack of choice in the region? I wonder in the Gulf, the big sectors are energy and financial services, banking. I wonder if women are training for oil and gas and wanting to get into it because of a lack of other options even, or
no, not lack. In what's happened, the highest salaries and financial benefits in my country, it is in the oil sector. Even if the girl she likes her work, even if she is working in a field or a refinery or in a gas plant, her parents will not allow her, or they don't like her to stay more because they think that she will lose the chance for getting married.
Right. This is tough, isn't it, Natalie?
Yeah. So that's why if it's not almost, from time to time, if not, they encourage her to leave this type of work and go to administrative job, which is very relaxed, and she can get married and bring babies.
I'm not going to say anything, Natalie. Why don't you? Have you got any thoughts on that? I mean, this is a huge thing to overcome here, isn't it?
And I think that's what we talked about a little bit earlier around this cultural acceptance that we are in a different cultural environment and we need to appreciate and adapt. And we have a commitment to educate and create awareness. Some of the things that you can do, and I've seen being done, is, we invite, for example, we have a female Qatari reservoir engineer who's working. She's about to get married. Her family's putting pressure on her to quit her job and to focus on the family life. It's, well, okay, let's bring your husband to the office, let's bring your family to the office so they can see where you are and what you're doing and what your workplace looks like, so that it doesn't become unfamiliar and it suddenly becomes acceptable.
Just a final thought, just to step back from that, because I've had a question on Twitter from a group calling themselves How Women Work, and they've said, what can we do in early stages, things like education and even the upbringing of girls, to improve the future?
They need to be supported. They need to refer to role models, but again, as Nawal said, it's not fair to expect from a young woman to look at a role model with 40, 50 years of experience and say, gosh, I can do like her. It's not that easy. It's full of compromises. It's full of, good and bad experiences. So we need a set of supporting measures, from training to mentorship to, policies, internal policies from both the government and the company.
Marie-José Nadeau, Nawal al-Fezai and Natalie Rush, this has been a fascinating conversation, and I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So there you have it, a fascinating discussion there about the place of women in the energy sector from here at the Women in Energy Summit in Doha. If you want to see more of this program or any of our other editions, do go to aljazeera.com/CTC. That'll take you straight to our page. And get in touch with me on Twitter as well. I'm at KamalAJE for your comments and suggestions. That's it for this edition of Counting the Cost. I'm Kamal Santamaria from the whole team. Thanks for joining us. The news is next here on Al Jazeera.